It's a really interesting conundrum, the idea of public space and private space, and who and how we access things. Access is really, in some ways, at the center of my work, and interiority is at the center of my work. The sculpture is titled New Poetry. My mother was a poet and my sister is a poet. And over the last few years, I've been reading a lot more contemporary poetry as well as poetry that's informed my work previously. The New Commission is a body of work that I've worked through for the last 10 years. I like that these works have a certain agency and that the institution and those involved have a certain responsibility to kind of nurture it, meaning that they are responsible to keep it alive. And that idea of care and responsibility, I think, are not only central to this work, but central to my work as a whole. This work is an index, and that index includes a lot of different signifiers and materials that I've employed in other bodies of work or that I employ in my everyday life. So you'll see in this object, you'll see shea butter, you'll see books on poetry, you'll see plants, you'll see ceramic vessels. And there's also a film that I made several years ago. So there are these different entrance points to my work that all lead into conversations that I'm excited to continue to investigate.
We wanted a work that would capture people's attention, their imagination. We thought Rashid was just a great person to think this way because he thinks sculpturally, he thinks about community, he thinks about context, he thinks about history. So we feel real closeness to his point of view about art's possibility to inspire new thought, to shape the world, and it felt like this work could become a kind of new gateway to the Whitney and to the whole West Side.
The grid has been with me for a long time. It's been at the center of how I oftentimes organize my thoughts. And so really, for me, it's an opportunity to kind of transact with something that's quite formal and then saying, how do I kind of interfere and how do I manipulate how we have traditionally thought of this form? I hope that a sculpture like this is more of an invitation than an obstacle, something that you're allowed to traffic through. I often think about this idea of how one can look inside and that space of the interior, and obviously that's kind of present in this dialogue.
Rashid's approach to art making is challenging, difficult sometimes. He's not going to serve you up the meaning on a platter, but at the same time, he wants to bring people in and invite them into a conversation, and I think at our best, the Whitney does just that.
The liminal space that my work oftentimes feels most at home is between kind of the critical concerns or the opportunity to kind of explore how an artwork comes to fruition, as well as the aesthetic concerns and the more poetic concerns of an artwork. And so this work being framed and titled as New Poetry really kind of contextualizes it as more than just an armature and a sculpture, but really, in some respects, my attempt at writing a poem.